Peace to the 12, man. Y'all see the title. The first images of Christ are black. You know, I've done this before in many videos. Say it one more time. The first images of Christ are black. So basically in this video, I'm going to be adding a new book to this list. So we're going to get one new book, and then the rest is going to be books I've referenced over the years. And that'll be the video. It shouldn't be too long. So let's get into it. This guy was named, I don't know how you say this man's name, but I'm going to try. Mangasarian, Mangasarian, American rationalist and secularist of American descent. He was born in the Ottoman Empire, so he was probably, Turkish or Armenian, something like that. Wherever the Ottoman Empire was at. He died in Los Angeles, California at 83 years old. And his book that we're going to be going into is titled Liberal Review and Origin of the Independent Thinkers of America, Volume 3. All right, this book came out in 1906. We're going to go to page 478. He's going to be talking about who the world ignorantly calls Christ. All right, real name, yahawashi Mashiach. Anyway, so here we go. Let's see. As further evidence that the word Christ is carrying out the Krishna idea, it is stated on what I regard as a first-class authority that his pictures represent him as being black. Right? His pictures represent him as being black. Who's this talking about? Christ. On what first-class authority? The authority referred to is Higgins. The person he's talking to is Godfrey Higgins, which I'll be getting in this video. In his immortal work, The Anacalypsis, the author states that in churches and in cathedrals in Italy and adjoining countries, he found a half dozen or more black images of Christ. All right, let's read that again. In churches and cathedrals in Italy and adjoining countries, he found a half dozen or more black images of Christ. Okay? So, yeah, and, you know, here's a famous picture known as the Black Madonna. All right? Race, religion, and the Black Madonna, found in hundreds of Catholic churches across Europe and Latin America. The Black Madonna is the depiction of the Virgin Mary with dark skin and remains one of the most mysterious and controversial religious icons. She was a complex history of many possible meanings. No, there's really only one possible meaning, all right? The reason why the oldest depictions look like this is because that's what they look like, okay? It's really simple. Here's a close-up on what they call the so-called Black Madonna. All right, see the black woman, the black child. All right, now really this is really going into paganism, because this picture is a copy of ISIS, but that's a whole other video that I might go into. But so the guy he referenced where he said Higgins as his first class authority. Well, who is Higgins? Godfrey Higgins is a historian. He was an antiquarian. He was born in the 1700s. Born in 1772, and he died in 1883. And he had a book that I encourage all of you to read called Anacalypsis. There's Volume 1 and Volume 2. It's a great book. Book really opened my eyes to a lot of things in regarding to history and paintings and depictions and things like that. But nonetheless, in this book, Anacalypsis, which is what this guy is referencing, we're going to go to page 173. All right, Godfrey Higgins, Anacalypsis, Volume 1. And this is page 173. We're going to go down to here, the highlighted portion. So let's read it. It reads, the reader has already seen the striking marks of similarity in the history of Krishna and the stories related of Jesus in the Romish and heretical books. He probably will not think their effects is destroyed, as Mr. Maurice flatters himself by the word Krishna in that Indian language signifying black, and the god being of that color, when he is informed of what Mr. Maurice was probably ignorant, that in all the Romish countries of Europe, in France, Italy, Germany, etc., the god Christ, as well as his mother, are described in their old pictures and statues to be black. Let me read that again. In all the Romish countries of Europe, meaning what? Places in Europe that were owned by the Romans at the time, or back then. France, Italy, Germany, etc., The God Christ, as well as his mother, are described in their old pictures and statues to be black. To be black. And one of the lies that they tell you, and he actually goes into this in his video, or in his book, one of the lies they tell you is that, oh, you know, they just got darkened over time, all right? Smoke and soot darkened them over time, which is straight up bullshit. And you know it's bullshit because, as you can see, these candles right here are still white. This dress is still white. So that's not why the skin is dark. That's a damn lie. That's a lie. So anyway, look at this. The infant, it's page 174, I think. Infant God in the arms of his black mother. His eyes and drapery white as himself, perfectly black. All right. If the reader doubt my word. So he's telling about people, look, if you doubt me, you can go pull up. Well, you can't go pull up now because a lot of these pictures are taken down now. Mind you, this was what? In the 1700s. So they done vaulted a lot of things and destroyed a lot of things in this period of time. All right, we're in the 2000s now. But anyway, if the reader doubt my word, he may go to the cathedral at Mullins, to the famous chapel of the Virgin at Loreto, to the church of Annunziata, the church of St. Lazaro, or the church of St. Stephen at Genoa, to San Francisco at Pisa, to the church at Brixen in the Tyrol, and to that of Padua, to the church of St. Theodore at Munich, in the two last of which the whiteness of the eyes and teeth and the studied redness of the lips are very observable. To a church and to a cathedral at Augsburg, where are a black virgin and child as large as life, to Rome, to the Borghese Chapel, Maria Maggiore, to the Pantheon, to a small chapel of St. Peter's, on the right-hand side on entering, near the door, and in fact, to almost innumerable other churches and countries professing the Romish religion. So, he was dropping names, man. He was like, man, I seen it here. He's seen the image of the black Christ and his mother in a bunch of different churches, right? You know why? Because, like I said, those are the original depictions, all right? They know this, all right? The people, the elites, right? The people who have really done their research into these things, they know this already. All right? But anyway, check this out. There is scarcely an old church in Italy where some remains of the worship of the black virgin and black child are not to be met with. Very often the black figures have given way to white ones. See that? The black figures have given way to white ones. Meaning what? They removed them. They replaced them. Right? Very often the black figures have given way to white ones. And in these cases, the black ones, as being held sacred, were put into retired places in the churches, but were not destroyed, but are yet to be found there. In many cases, the images are painted all over and look like bronze, often with colored aprons or napkins round the loins or other parts. But pictures in great numbers are to be seen, where the white of the eyes and of the teeth and the lips, a little tinged with red, like the black figures in the Museum of the Indian Company, show that there is no imitation of bronze. In many instances, these images and pictures are shaded, not all one color, a very dark brown, so dark as to look like black. They are generally esteemed by the rabble with the most profound veneration, right? So they were venerated. They were deeply worshipped, which is often said you're not supposed to worship no damn painting. You're not supposed to worship no damn statue, according to the scriptures. Anyway, the toes are often white, the brown or black paint being kissed away by the devotees and the white wood left. No doubt in many places when the priests have new painted the images, they have colored the eyes, teeth, etc. in order that they might not shock the feeling of devotees by a too sudden change from black to white, and in order at the same time that they might furnish a decent pretense for their blackness, that they are an imitation of bronze. But the number that are left with white teeth let out the secret, right? Yeah, the secret's out. When the circumstance has been named to the Romish priests, they have endeavored to disguise the fact, right? So they endeavor, right? They work hard as hell. They try hard as hell to disguise the fact by pretending that the child had become black by the smoke of the candles. And mind you, he's talking about this in, 1800? He wrote this in 1830? So he's talking about this in 1800s. Fast forward to now, they still saying that same shit. Oh, he was it was blackened by the smoke. And then, like I said, bullshit. And he's calling it out. Let me read that again. When the circumstance has been named to the Romish priests, they have endeavored to disguise the fact by pretending that the child had become black by the smoke of the candles. But it was black where the smoke of a candle never came. And besides, how can the candles not to blacken the white of the eyes and the teeth? That's what I said. If it was because of the candles, why are these dresses still white? Why is this white sun still white? Why are these candles in the painting still white? I'll tell you why. Because they're lying. That's why. Anyway, and the shirt, and how come they too red in the lips? The mother, as the author believes, always black when the child is. Their real blackness is not to be questioned for a moment. Can't even question it, man. But it's just funny, man. All these years later, they're still running with that same damn lie. Crazy. But anyway, let's continue reading. It's good. And there's other Black Madonnas everywhere. As you can see, Black Madonnas are everywhere, man. Also known as the Black Virgin. Let's get another book. Letters from Portugal, Spain, Italy, and Germany in the years 1759, 1760, and 1761 by Hervey Christopher. This book was written in 1785. Another book from the 1700s. This is volume 3. Let's get into it. We're going to go to page 318 of this. Right? Where are we at? Let's just read from this whole thing. A Peringer has shown us consecrated, I believe, by the virgins having eat her soup out of it. On the left hand was said to be the window through which the angel Gabriel entered, but it appeared so small that a spiritual being certainly should not enter it clothed in human shape. The other division was principally occupied an image of the Virgin Mary clothed with the most transcendent finery, and blazing with all manner of the richest jewels. But what surprised me was to see her face as black as ebony. Nor do I know why they have changed her countenance to that of a Negro. They didn't change it to that of a Negro. That is, like I said, that's the original depiction. All right. If we were in Angola, it might perhaps be polite to flatter the Africans with the mother of our Redeemer having been of their color. But I do not see the reason for this metamorphosis in Europe, after having gazed for some time with astonishment at the blackness of the figure. So he was surprised to see the black, quote-unquote, Virgin Mary. He was surprised to see that, and he didn't know why it was like that in Europe. Let's get another book, man. This is a book called Early Spanish Manuscript Illumination by John Williams. All right? And this book is $1,800. $1,800, man. That's how you know it's got the truth in it. Anyway, look at this. As you can already see by the little cover of the book, right? These pictures are what? Black people with afros. Dark-skinned people with black afros. So let's go to here. Page 55, right here. It says, Christ, whose darkened flesh tones now give him an almost negroid cast, right? Meaning looking like a Negro, is shown enthroned between two cherubs within a great circular firmament suspended from the hands of two seraphs, right? The negroid cast. All right. Now, before I get out of here, I'm going to get, 2 scriptures on what they say Yahawashi Mashiach, who the world calls Jesus Christ, look like, real name Yahawashi. Let's go to it. Let's start off with Daniel 10:6. His body also was like the beryl, and his face as the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet like in color to polished brass, and the voice of his words like a voice of a multitude. So right here it says polished brass. Now, other depictions of this same verse in Daniel 10:6, it says what? Burnished bronze, burnished bronze. All right, same thing talks about this in Revelations 1:15. and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice is the sound of many waters. So it says fine brass right here in Revelation 1:15. In other versions, it says what? Burnished bronze, burnished bronze, burnished bronze, burnished bronze, burnished bronze. Well, according to Google, this is the color of burnished bronze. As you can see, it's dark brown. Dark brown, burnished bronze. All right? Real depiction of Yahawashi, Hamashiach. So, yeah, man, this one's going to be a long video. As you can see, the first images of Christ are black. And that's just me adding another book to that list. So, with that, once again, I say peace to the 12. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Heavenly Father, Most High Yahawah, the name of His only God, Son, Yahawashi. Yahawah is the name of Heavenly Father, who the world commonly calls God, and Yahawashi is the Savior of the nation of Israel, who the world commonly calls Jesus Christ. I want to say shalom, which means peace. You people listening and learning. You brothers who just work truth and sincerity, and to you elders been doing this thing before me, man. Signing out. Gone. Peace.